My Italian therapy is the place you want to be. My Italian therapy with Gina Fiori. My Italian therapy is the place you want to be. My Italian therapy with Gina Fiori. My Italian therapy is the place you want to be. My Italian therapy with Gina Fiori. With Gina Fiori. With Gina.
Well, buonasera, good afternoon. This is kind of an impromptu episode because I spent 12 hours in the hospital last night in Chieti. From 2 o'clock in the afternoon after the Serpent Festival at St. Dominic's in Cucuyu, I can't remember how to pronounce it. Anyway, because I'm so tired. 12 hours I went there because I haven't been feeling well for the last few weeks. Strangely enough, I bet you a lot of you are like, well, what do you expect? You've exhausted yourself and, the drive and the plans and the travels and the no power and all that. Well, I thought about that, but then also I've had cancer for 29 years. And I also had lung surgery 5 months ago. So I was concerned because the symptoms I was having were not so great. And I thought I was dying for sure. And I know I needed to go get checked because of how I was feeling, but I procrastinated because I had a feeling what was going to happen in order for me to do that, knowing that I am not a resident, number one. 2, I don't have a doctor. 3, I don't know what the problem was, so I couldn't go to anybody specific. So I knew I had to go to the hospital. And the hospital I went to was a public hospital because I didn't realize what was going to happen in those 12 hours. I thought I'd just be there for, I don't know, a few hours, get a blood test. I'm dying, I need more tests, move on, go home. It didn't work out that way. And there's a whole lot more to this episode than just that. And my humor, I'm just exhausted because I got home this morning at 6 a.m. So I didn't sleep all night last night. I'm just really tired because what I had to do last week, I was in Termoli, as you saw. After that, I came home and I woke up at 5 to leave at 6 to get to the St. Dominic's Serpent Festival because I read a lot about it and I knew it was going to be really crowded. I had no idea what I was getting into there either. So I stood for 2.5 hours with Nils from Germany. Well, shout out to Nils. I don't know if you're watching this episode too because you were in the last one when I asked you some questions and just to say hi. But 2.5 hours I had to sit in that place to save my space so I could get good video. Anyway, so I was just really tired. It was cold. It was windy. It was crowded. We had to walk. Man, I walked a 1.5 kilometers up from where they had us park, as you saw that. And by the time I decided, okay, well, I'm just going to go to Chieti because I know I'm going to have to wait. Just go ahead and do it. You're tired. You could just hang out in the hospital. Oh, man, I had no idea what I was up against. Let me tell you. So before I share my hospital experience, I want to share something with you, all of you watching this, and those of you who are expats, either who have moved overseas from US or anywhere, who are in the process of doing it, and those who are thinking about it. It's really hard. really super hard. And all of my tests, and I'll tell you about that in a little bit, all my tests came back okay. I'm okay. I'm not dying. My cancer hasn't spread. You know, I don't have heart issues or any of that. They were very thorough. It's probably the stress of all of this process that we all endeavor to achieve. Why do we need to do this? Why do we feel we need to leave our country to be in another one? And the process of doing this is so hard. I've been wanting to move overseas for over 30 years. This is not something that I decided in a week. Oh, I think I'll move overseas. This is something I've been working on, and physically working to consolidate, sell, downsize, mentally think, you know, what do I want to bring a suitcase each time I come, what do I really need, what do I want to part with, what will I not regret parting with to come over here. Will I ever go back to the US? I don't know that. I know a lot of you guys, expats, say, I'll never go back to the US. I personally don't know, and I don't want to say I'm never going back to the United States. No, because I don't know that. So in my mind, thinking of getting rid of every single thing I've accumulated over my lifetime, that means something to me, because I do have connections to family things I've bought while traveling, things I've gotten from friends, all that stuff means something to me. And I know there's a lot of people who don't have attachments to things. That's not me. That's not a lot of you. And just this morning, which is somewhat ironic, which makes me feel like I am exactly where I'm supposed to be, doing exactly what it is I'm supposed to be doing. And let me tell you why I think that. I'm tired. I slept till 12. I got here at 6 a.m. I made a really nice breakfast because I love my breakfast. It's the best part of my day is my breakfast. And I was charging everything and you know, going and answering a lot of your YouTube comments, which I appreciate so very much. I love it. And I clicked on a couple YouTube episodes from people that I follow that are moving to France, couples. And the first thing I noticed as I was listening and watching while I was making breakfast is how exhausting their process is. How one day they wake up and they're just like, I just have like no energy, and this is so exhausting. Well, the bells were ringing. I don't know if you heard that. I always still stop when the bells ring. I don't know, do other expats still stop when the bells ring and you go, oh, the bells are ringing. This is so lovely. So 2 couples moving to France. One was trying to, and I'm gonna put their channel down, so if you want to watch them as well. The first one, they're in the process of trying to get their visa to work in France. And they got denied. So they had to leave the EU, they had to leave the Schengen region and France, and they went to the UK. So this is part of this whole process. It's not easy. You may have to leave. You may have to reapply. You may get denied. It's like it goes on and on and on. And in the meantime, we're like vagabonds. And they had already bought a place like me, but I'm not getting my residency in Italy. So I can still continue to come here every 3 months and not have the expectations of getting thrown out. And I'm not applying for French residency yet till next year. So this is what I have to look forward to. And so they were taking turns being exhausted with the process of having to leave the EU. They're in hotels, they're in apartments, they're getting tired of eating out, they're getting tired of going to hotels, so they go to apartments so they could cook. I mean, we're crazy. in this whole 30-day adventure that they had, basically, they had to, they were trying to make an adventure out of it. So they were going to different places in the UK while they were waiting for an answer from France. Are we going to be able to get approved? Are we going to be able to, continue? The second couple has been in France a long time, and they do a lot of relocation help with us expats. And they went back and shared their experience with leaving and having to sell when they decided to stay in France and not just do a year. And they had to go back and they had 8 days to sell their stuff. We are crazy. It's so exhausting. And another thing also, besides the process that we endure to be able to do this on whatever level we're doing it, is the change in our lives, in our own countries that we have to contend with. That's the next thing I want to talk about. Another issue that expats, whether we're getting residency or trying to, or just working within the Schengen dates, which the 30 days, the 90 days, and then the 90 days, and then 90 days, and then the 90 days, is disassociating or transitioning from our own country. It doesn't matter which country it is that you're leaving. You've accumulated a life, you've created a life, you have belongings, you have taxes, you have boxes of pictures, you have photo albums, you have records, music, movies, books, clothes, all those things that you live with. And those people who have been in the same house that are not striving to do this might not realize the extent of touching every single thing over and over and over. And me personally, as a person who travels a lot within her own country, I've moved to and lived in 11 states, just because I wanted to experience, I did this, I bought a house and I fixed it up and I sold it. It's really time to move 5, 10, 13 years, move to another state. Have another experience, renovate another property. That's what I did for a long time, and I enjoyed it. But even moving within states, you have to get another driver's license, you have to change your address, you got to set up utilities, you're moving again. I've done it a lot, and I've pared down to, when I was in Texas, I moved from Arkansas, I pared down into an RV with a truck and a utility trailer, and had somebody help me move down to South Texas. And that was like a week before COVID. So I was down there for 18 months. That's right before I moved to New York State. So I've moved a lot, but you know what? This last move for me was really hard because I lost family members. I moved back to the East Coast where I grew up. I lost aunts, uncle, parents, my birth parents. I lost all these people within a very short period of time, and I inherited their belongings. I had a huge renovation, a 4,000 square foot property, and so I had a place to put all this stuff, which a lot of my family didn't. Nobody wanted this stuff, so I'm like, you know what, if you don't want it, I'll take it because I have a place to put it. Plus it meant something to me. Lamps and furniture and couches and pictures and little odds and ends meant something to me. Silverware, little china things, glasses, photos. I said, I'll take that because that means something to me. So I got stuff for my grandparents, my parents died. My aunt and uncle passed away. I took almost all their belongings from their house because I was faced with the fact that if you don't take it, we're going to donate it to Goodwill. I'm like, oh God, don't donate it to Goodwill. I'll just take it and go through it later. So not only did I have my own little items that I had in the utility trailer and the RV and the truck, that I made 2 trips with my truck, pulling my utility trailer from Texas to New York, back and then back again. And I have recently sold that utility trailer. It did me good. I bought it in Arkansas, but man, I didn't only have my stuff to sell, I had everybody's stuff to sell. I've been doing sales for years, for the last 2.5 years, and I still have way too much stuff in this tiny apartment that Coulter and I rented. So at the end of June, we're moving again into a larger apartment, but I'm going to spend the summer selling all that stuff. So, wow. No, I'm not dying. I'm just exhausted from setting up way too much to do to move overseas. Now, I don't know how a lot of these expats, all of you or whoever's out there watching this, have done it in a short period of time, whether single or a couple. It's hard. It's emotionally draining. It's a loss because you're letting go of so much. So much. You're letting go of your past. You're letting go of family, of friends, of property. If you're retiring, you're letting go of your old life and retiring. And that's the next thing I want to address, is how, maybe you guys can share your experiences with me. How do you deal with retiring? Whether you worked for someone, whether you had your own business, whether you're changing your business and moving overseas, how did you deal with retirement? Even if you're not moving overseas and you retired, how did you deal with that process after it actually happened and you had to live retirement for a while? I would like to hear your comments because I need some help adjusting to this retirement lifestyle that we all are venturing into as with this age that we're in. So what's your experiences? Retiring. Boy, that's a big one, isn't it? Like I said, as a person who created my own world to live in as a self-employed person, I started fixing up a property that I had and I ended up renting it, and then I had people help me. I didn't like the work they did, so I started doing caulking and repairing, and that's how I got started in the old historic renovation world and construction and rentals. That's how I started. And I started in Arizona, went to Wyoming and Montana, went to Alaska, went to Arkansas, South Texas, New York State, and there's states in between there that I really didn't do this work in. But I didn't feel like I was working. I felt like I was creating. So it wasn't like a job, like I had to go to like every day or punch a clock or anything like that. So it was on my time frame, because as the personality that I am, ADHD that I have, who knows, might be Asperger's too, I don't know. A lot of us creative people have like really interesting traits that motivate us, give us the ability to create and do things that most people would not, because of our personalities and our interests. To see the world, to create another business, to make something out of nothing, even if it's just like making jewelry or renovating a room or decorating a room or working on cars or whatever you're self-employed, a writer, a musician, all those things. I find we have similar personalities. Am I correct with that? If not, you can correct me, those of you who are in that realm. But retiring, I didn't think it would be a thing for me. Duh. I sold my properties in New York, and I thought coming over here this time would be different because I kind of let go of my job, my work. But I find that I'm creating the same thing, like with this little apartment that I bought. I knew I'd be doing some renovation and decorating and changing some things. I look and I don't see any plastic molding in the kitchen at all. There's so much to do in this little space, but right now it doesn't bother me at all. It's habitable, it's clean, it's functional. Lock up and leave, I'm good till I decide what to do, till I sell my Portugal property. But I'm creating the same life that I just gave up. I want to buy another place over by Termally, right? Rent it out in the summer, do some renovation. It's like normal people, normal people. You have a job that you go to, you buy a house that you live in, and you're not renting out part of your rooms. You're not wondering about how much you're going to make. You're not wondering about how much you're going to pay. It's your mortgage. You have a job. It's separate. Mine's connected. And my thoughts are, how do I make this work? How do I get euro without having to make the transfers for the exchange rate? How do I do this and make my places pay for themselves? And my self-employed brain says, rent this one out, because rationally, as you saw a couple episodes ago, I need a car to live here in San Martino. As much as I love it here, rationally, the reason I brought the car is because I have to spend 2,000-3,000 euro every time I'm here for 3 months to rent a car. And I can't own one in Italy because I'm not a resident. So rationally, I have to have a car to live here. I can't live here long term. I can't keep this place after January. So I'm going to rent it out. And as soon as I sell my Portugal property, I'm going to do some renovation here or something to make it rentable, because it's charming. And if somebody's coming here to be a resident and they want to rent this out for a year, and you have a car and you're going to be a resident, you're fine. My situation is not like that. So, and the Termally property that I'm looking at, which I decided, you saw a couple episodes ago, that was a better fit for me than the smaller areas. Public transportation, I don't need a car. There's a bullet train, there's a train station, there's buses, and you could walk everywhere, and I don't need anything more than what that town would give me. And if I need to go on a trip, I could just rent a car. Or if I want to go buy something and go pick it up, I could rent a car. It's cheaper than owning one, paying for insurance, paying for repairs, or renting one. So those are all the things that I rationally think about in this process. It's really hard. And the next thing I want to talk about is my experience in the hospital. This is crazy. I'm just dealing now with the reality of everything starting to affect me. And so now I need to start, I'm trying to think of the word that it would be, decompress about all of these things that are reality for me. I've been leaving for the winters for 30 years. I thought I already dealt with all this stuff, the being alone and not knowing the language and not being part of the culture and the loneliness that comes with being isolated. And I dealt with that years ago. And so I thought that was all that there had to be dealt with. Well, that is not true. And anybody who's doing this, you know that's not true. I've always found it challenging to watch people who leave rather quickly, who bought a place, who move over here, and then they go in the downward spiral, which basically is what I dealt with in the past, is how overwhelming it is to live in another country, another culture, dealing with all that comes with the isolation. If you haven't experienced that for months and months, for years, it really is overwhelming. Then they're dealing with what I deal with right now, is getting rid of your stuff. The reality of, wow, I'm really leaving the country. The healthcare situation is so different. And all of the things that you have to deal with, the challenges of residency and being an expat, I don't know how they all deal with that at once if they haven't left for long periods of time or lived overseas before. I see a lot of you guys leaving. You go back to the US because it's too much. It's too hard. It's too overwhelming. And I'm dealing with that right now. So let me share a little bit about the hospital experience. And It was something to behold, and it sure woke me up to the reality of what I've been experiencing and the challenges that I have to deal with in the future. Well, I want to choose my words carefully. Reason being, everyone was wonderful. The people that checked you in, the nurses, everybody who did what they did, the blood, the checking of your heart, the x-rays, everybody was wonderful people-wise. They're doing the best they can with what they have. The challenge that I found was, first of all, and this is the reality of what I experienced, and I wish I could have filmed it, but you're talking about people, and I didn't even want to I had my cameras, I was charging everything, and I was there for 12 hours, so it was a lot of time, and my cameras both were depleted from the Serpent Festival, St. Dominic Serpent Festival. There was nothing, and I had to use my translation a lot, so I had to charge my stuff. The elderly population here in Italy, I can't speak for other countries, I'm not even going to go into that, but it kept me in perspective. It kept my attitude in check. There were several beds in the hallway of the emergency room. There were very, very old people there. They were very sick. There was the transition time from when you came into the hospital, when you talked to the doctor or got your tests, not the doctor yet, went into the waiting room that was smaller than my kitchen with chairs, and then they would bring in a comfortable padded wheelchair-y kind of thing that went back, and there were several people in it, emergency people. There was four young people that were in a car accident. There were several older people, I'm telling you, like 70s and 80s, older than me. There was a woman, she was crying on the phone to her daughter, and all the older people that were there were on the phone with family, but there was no family there. So I don't know how they got to the emergency room. I don't know why there was no family there. I don't know if somebody brought them and dropped them off. I don't know, because I don't speak Italian well enough. And at one point, this older woman who was just crying, I moved my chair next to her and held her hand. It makes me weepy now because she was so sad and uncomfortable, and I held her hand, and I know we couldn't speak, and we weren't going to do Google Translate back and forth to each other, but she appreciated it because she was sad, and she was alone, and she was in pain, or for whatever reason, she was in the emergency room like me. And as I was watching all of these people in that emergency room, I thought to myself, whether I'm dying or what's wrong with me, as an American, we are very blessed and we are spoiled. And although I have seen some of that in the US because there's overcrowding and people are sick and the aging population has increased because we're living longer, and the short staff and the problems since COVID, and all of those things come into play in any country. But this to me was not something I was used to. And I thought to myself, keep your attitude in check, keep your perspective, because none of these people know that they have options. They don't know anything else. And they're still sad and they're complaining. That woman must have called for the nurse like a dozen times, like, please help me. Why am I sitting here so long? Her frustration was palpable. Her sadness was palpable. So through the rest of the time I was there, until I actually went into another area, which is just such a weird experience. She wanted me to sit next to her. It was so cute. But they all were doing the same thing I am. She was there as long as I was. She wasn't there any less time. And when I was leaving, she was still there. They were there all night long. And when I found out that they did a heart test and it came back like there was something wrong, and the doctor said this was 6:30. I was there from 2. 6:30, they took out my little IV port, which is so hard for me. Look, I'm all black and blue because I have such bad nerve damage from having cancer for so long that my arm is in so much pain anytime anybody touched me. Tourniquet, blood pressure, blood, I just fret. So they pulled it out finally. Oh, it's like such a relief. Get rid of that thing. Look at, I'm all black and blue here because they put it in my wrist. Oh, it's so painful. She goes, and then I go see the doctor, and she's like, I don't like your heart tests. I think you need to stay and see the cardiologist. And I'm like, oh my God, okay, all right, I'll stay. I'm like, but I can't drive home after dark, so I'm stuck here. Once it gets dark, I can't drive up those mountain roads. So I'm going to make this quick because my tests all came out okay. I saw the cardiologist at 1 a.m. She swore that it would be before midnight. They had to get blood again, and they did it on the inside of my arm, and I'm like, oh my God. I said, in the US, they use an ultrasound to find the vein because it's so hard to find blood, and it's so painful. And they did. They had one sitting right there. They did it. But once they put it in, it was so incredibly painful that I had to put ice on it. So I'm just in agony with it, and I'm like, just be quiet. I'm in agony. I see the cardiologist at 1. They do another test. They had drawn more blood because the cardiologist wanted to do tests with my blood that were geared towards my heart. Everything came back normal. I was there for nothing. But now I know it's normal, unless I go further in with, like a CT scan instead of an x-ray. And my x-ray was normal as well. But they gave me the option, okay, we're going to give you a bed in the hallway. If you want to stay here, you can stay here. But you got to keep your port in. And I'm like, no way. This thing is so painful. Take it out. I'll go sleep in my car. And that's what I did. After I found out all my tests were normal, and initially they didn't get all the blood test results from the first blood draw because something was wrong with the machine. So I had all these like blank things they couldn't tell me about the test. So they got that back as well. And the second round of blood tests, they ran what they couldn't run earlier. They were all normal too. I'm not dying. I'm not going to Switzerland for a right to die. But I am a silly American person who thinks that they could do all this and not change what you do because you're getting older and you had lung cancer 5 months ago and you decided after 5 months to come and do this. And if y'all been watching, you know what I've done. I think I'm just exhausted. And most of you are probably going, yep, you sure are. Would you think that you just wouldn't be tired after lung surgery? And do you think that you would be tired after driving a car from Portugal with no power steering? Did you think you wouldn't be tired with no power for 10 days? You think you'd be tired just doing a flight? Well, okay. So I admit, you're right. But anyway, so 2 o'clock in the morning, they checked me out. I said, please take this thing out. I don't want your bed. I'm just going to go sleep in the car. And I did. I drove my car from the emergency parking down to the parking, and I slept there from 2 o'clock to 5:30. And at 5:30, it was starting to get light enough, and I drove the 30 minutes up the mountain, which actually really wasn't strangely bad. They have a lot more lights on their road than we do in the US. I was just surprised. I thought I could have probably made it, but I was just really tired. And I didn't want to have to come back to the emergency room in an ambulance because I drove over a cliff. So I thought I left the heat on in the car. I thought it was cheaper than getting a hotel. So just leave the car running, warm up the car. It was 50-something degrees. I had a sweater and another sweater, and I had my coat. I took my shoes off, and I had some nuts, so I just ate those, and I drank some water, and I was fine. At 5:30, I made it back, went to bed at 6, got up at noon, and here we are. So that is the tales of woe, the story of the expat who thinks that they could just move to a foreign country and walk away from their life, have health issues, and think that you could just jump into another healthcare system. Yeah, it's crazy. But you know what? I'm still going to do it. And any of you expats out there, you know you're still going to do it. What moves us on, I don't know. Do we really not like where we're from? Do we really think this is so much better? Different, a challenge. We have to have challenges. We have to create. We have to travel. But you know what? Traveling, going on holiday, and being a resident and buying property, those are different. It's a lot. It's a lot. But anyway, enough for this episode. And yes, one must keep their attitude in check. You can be down, you can be tired, you can be sad, but you don't want to stay there. And my book is about that, and hopefully it's going to be edited soon. I was going to do it this weekend and finish the editing, but again, another challenge. Again, always something that jumps into the plans. So what did they say? God laughs when you're making plans? Well, he must be hysterical, because it's just one thing after another. And how many of you out there are shaking your heads going, we know, we've done it. We did that. We know. Or we're doing that. Oh my God, really? It's normal? That's how I felt this morning watching those episodes of those two couples. Oh my gosh, this is not just me. Makes me feel so much better to know that I'm not alone and I'm not crazy alone. Because there's others. There are others. We are not alone. So that's why I did this episode for you guys. And for the rest of you normal people, you could just laugh and go, oh my God, what are they, crazy? Yes, apparently we are. But we love it. And I love that you're here. So like, subscribe, share to your crazy expat friends, or somebody that's bored. I don't know. But I'm trying to grow my channel, and I'm taking any of the YouTube money, which isn't a lot. You all know we're not millionaires. We're not million views. We're not in that that realm of making money on our YouTube channel. We're just doing it just because we're doing it. And I'm telling you what, that going to that snake festival, that was for you. I didn't really feel like doing it. My son said, you got to go do it, Mom. I'm like, all right. So I did it for you guys. So as the bell tolls, I'm out of here and I'm going to go take a nap. So ciao from Abruzzo. Like, subscribe, share, and please comment. I love it. Thanks, guys.